Yeah, his name was Floyd Johnson, but we called him Uncle Flood. Yes, and I think I've been saying that he was from Louisiana, but he really was. As I remember, he really came from Little Rock, Arkansas. Yes, and I think his brothers and sisters played some kind of instrument, but there was music in his home, and but he took up the harmonica, and he played it just, you would have thought he was a professional, but he played because he enjoyed it. When he migrated to, and I tell the story to the children, I brought some of when my uncle played one of these kind of harmonicas, well, I would tell the children the story that I said, well, my uncle used to work at the steel mills, and he worked for many long hours when he came back home. Now, he worked in a steel mill in Gary, Indiana, so they get their geography straight. Then he migrated, that means he moved to Chicago, and he got he lived in Chicago, Illinois, and then, but he came from Little Rock, so they got Little Rock, Arkansas, they got Gary, Indiana, and they've got Chicago, Illinois. So, and you can always point it out on a globe. And so, but after he came home, he took a bath, he put on some fresh clothes, and so I try to do it graphically so that the children can really see it all. And then he would go into the kitchen and he'd eat a hearty dinner. And after his dinner, he'd come back into a room, like in the dining room, and find a comfortable chair or a sofa, and he'd sit down. But before he sat down, he would go to the coat rack. There was a coat rack which had a vest, a pinstripe vest were in vogue in those days, and it was a gray pinstripe vest, and he had 4 harmonicas. That's how he kept his harmonicas, to keep them clean. But anyway, he'd take out one, and he'd come and sit down, and I say he would start warming up on the low notes, then on the high notes. Then he'd say, now these notes here are chords. And then he showed me a little bit about these are chords. Then he said, now here's a note I want you to remember. And they're like this. So that's how he would. So then he would start playing the blues, But it was a blues note. But I used to sit down, and I would sit for hours when he played. And he also rented his own jukebox, and he had a jukebox where he had all these blues singers and players on there, and the man would come in about once a month and change it. So I heard people like T-Bone Walker and Memphis Slim and Brother Montgomery. All these names were, but he used to listen, and then he'd get inspired. But he played very, very well. So that was, and so I said, oh, I would love to play the harmonica. So I listened and I listened. I'm not a formal musician. I didn't study music, but this harmonica playing came by just naturally. So one day my mother said, well, you certainly like that harmonica. I will put in some extra days for this day work and buy you one. She bought me this harmonica. So we went on Christmas Day, I thought I'd go over and show my uncle my harmonica. Well, we took a taxi for the first time, and we got in this taxi, went out there. I left my harmonica on the seat of the taxi. And when I got to see my uncle, I didn't have it. I cried for days and months. Mother said, one day you will get another